Hello and welcome back to A Splashy Paint, where it's time for today's Try Your Hand At project. So sit back and discover the dramatic and unique style of versatile SIA professional artist Terry Chipp as he demonstrates how to change composition and use atelier interactive acrylics to create atmosphere.
Today I'm going to show you how I would tackle doing an atmospheric, rather stormy sky. And the source picture I've chosen for this is one of the lighthouse at Spurn Head on the Humber estuary. It's a very dramatic, desolate sort of a place, and my friend Rory Garforth, who's the photographer, has let me use his picture because he's a specialist in these gloomy skies, so I hope I can do him some justice. But I am going to change its composition a little. I'm going to move the lighthouse more to the left. It's a little bit too central for me. I'm going to enlarge it slightly to make it more of a significant part of the picture, and, well, then I'll take artistic liberties as required. So we'll see how we get on. To begin with, I want to get rid of the white canvas. I want to establish the main light and dark areas. So I'm going to begin by wetting the canvas so that my colour will slide across it comfortably. So just wet it all over. And then I'm using a very restricted palette today. I've just got titanium white, yellow ochre, burnt umber and phthalo blue, the red shade. The burnt umber and phthalo blue will give me a really deep black. If I want it, I can throw in some white to make a range of greys, fitting for this rather gloomy picture. So to begin with, I'm going to establish a sky colour. I'm going to put quite a bit of the phthalo blue, just a little bit of white because I don't want it too gloomy just yet, and a touch of burnt umber, collecting it together on a tissue because it's quicker to get it on this way than with a brush. I'm just going to smooth it on. That's come up a very bright blue. I don't want it that bright. I'll knock that back with the burnt umber in a minute. But basically, I want to get rid of that white canvas. I would normally do it nice horizontal strokes to give a suggestion of sky receding, but we've got a stormy sky today, so I'm deliberately scribbling it. So more of the phthalo blue, more of the burnt umber and a little bit of white. We'll darken that down a little bit there. Okay. I want it to be quite uneven to give me something to work against. This is not the finished picture. This is just getting rid of the white and giving me something to work against. And then as we come to the beach, I will start now to going more horizontally. Bring in less of the blue, more of the burnt umber and white. And now start to introduce some yellow ochre to suggest the beach. And already, you could almost pass that off as being a sky and beach job done, but we'll put a bit more work into it than that. Right, so how can we adjust it? Where are the main lights and darks in all this? There's a lot of light coming into the horizon. There's some light clouds in this sort of area reflected on the wet beach down here. So I need to put some more white into these areas just to lighten them up and establish where they're going to come up. More white down here with a little yellow ochre in it. I don't want it to get too white just yet. So this needs to be much lighter. There's some light in the sky over here, so I'll put some white and a tiny touch of the phthalo blue into that. We've got a stormy sky. Let's give a hope of a little bit of calmer weather to come, just tucked away on the horizon there. Then, if I look at the source picture again, the darkest part of the sky are these really gloomy clouds right at the top. So on mine, it's still quite a bright blue there, so I'm really going to darken that down. Again, slightly dampen the tissue just so that the paint doesn't absorb into it. Phthalo blue, burnt umber, a bit more burnt umber there, I think. And we'll see if we can darken this down up at the top here, a little bit more umber. So that we've got the really deep dark clouds up at the top. I'm just putting this on quite loosely. I'm not polishing it. I don't want the blue and brown to mix particularly. I like them to work against each other. And very often you find in a dark colour like this, these bits of pure blue and pure brown next to one another just spark it off, but they don't jump out. It just gives you that darkness. So there's a darkness coming deep into there, high up there, and some darker clouds underneath. Now that's the main areas of dark sorted out, I think. All very rough and loose, but then the stormy sky should be loosely done. Next step, we'll start to put the clouds in, put in the lighter parts. So, still working with the tissue, scrunch it up, damp it slightly. Now, I'm going to come in with the white. I'm not going to add any other colours to this because the colours are already wet on the canvas. Now, I've got a lot of light in this area. Now, clouds build, they bubble up. These sort of storm clouds bubble up. So as I put it on, I'm pushing the clouds upwards. I'm letting the clouds grow in this sort of a way. And they're growing up and out. A little bit more of this. More coming up this way. I can tidy them up later. I don't want them too tidy because I do want a lively, expressive sky. A few more flicks out this way. Always pushing up, building. Some low down there. And push a few this way as well. Going off the edge. And then just emphasise this. Pushing that up to make the bubble at the top of the cloud. There's more white, so I'm picking up too much of the background colour at the moment there. Okay. And a few bits skimming across there. Lighter on the horizon here. Lighter across there. These are just, I'm not trying to paint clouds as such, I'm just trying to get the gestures of the movement of them, get the feel of this sky sweeping away. Okay, a few little bits up there perhaps. Now if I feel really so inclined, I can tidy that up a lot later, but sometimes tidying it up kills the whole effect. I rather like the liveliness of it. Right, so that's, I'm going to leave that for the sky. I'll consider it later, see if it needs any more, but it probably won't. Plenty of light in this part, as I said, go horizontal there, and then just a few wisps coming up into the darker clouds above. And light across this part because this is where the lighthouse is going to stand up. Right. Then I need to just mark in some of the main areas, get my composition sorted out. I'm going to use a fairly broad brush for this. So it's a size 10. Damp the brush slightly, just so that the paint comes off it, but take the weight off it. Now, I need to establish where my horizon is going to be. Again, I mix up quite a dark colour for this. A little bit of water to it. I want a lowish horizon for dramatic effect to really show off that sky. So I'm going to come across at about this sort of level. I'm just marking it with a broken line for the moment because I don't want it to be, well, I don't want to commit myself too tightly to it, to be honest. I want to leave a bit of leeway. The lighthouse I'm going to build up, not directly under that part, but just a little bit in here. So And that's where my lighthouse is going to go, and that's about the height of it. All right. From the lighthouse, I have the posts, which are going to work their way this way. It's not a straight line, it sort of dips. The base of these posts dips, rises along a ridge, and then dips again, like that. So, if I get my end post in place, then I've got the main parts of my composition there, the lighthouse, the end post, and this track going off there. So what I'll do now is just put this little bit of land in there, that little spit of land. I'm going to use some yellow ochre into that dark mix. I do want it quite a dark colour to begin with. I can always put a highlight on later, but I want a very dull dark green to just sort of bring this up quite low to begin with, then building up towards the lighthouse, dipping down a little after. So we've got a bit of a rise up for the lighthouse there, dipping down and then carrying on, not making it too even. I'll go straight through that post. That's better. Nice smooth horizontals. If I just bulk in the lighthouse slightly, that's roughly the shape and size of the lighthouse. I'll come back to that in a little more detail in a few moments when the paint's had a chance to just settle.
Thanks Terry, love the innovative and lovely approach, certainly produces some amazing results, and I can't wait to see part 2 later on in today's programme. Well folks, before we take a little break, we've just got time to join our regular resident bookworm Henry Malt as he searches the SIA reference library for another inspirational read. Today's book is The A to Z of Botanical Flowers by Michael Lakey. Now Henry, aren't all flowers botanical?
Yes, but not all botanicals are flowers. No, sorry. It's a particular style of illustration that's highly detailed and is designed mainly for identification purposes. So you have to be able to capture the detailed characteristics of a specific genus, but without illustrating that particular flower. It's not a photograph.
Okay. So this is a very serious book, this, would you say then?
Yes. It's about doing botanical illustration, which, as I said, is about the flower itself and not about the painting. Okay. So it's not necessarily a how to paint flowers book, this one? Again, no. It's very much about the style and the way it's laid out. You get, as we've got there, a basic introduction, the sketching, and if you just turn the page over, we get the finished result and just a single page with instructions on how to do it, but without step-by-step demonstrations. And it even goes into showing you a detail of the seeds and things like that, the seed heads. Yes, you would know that again is typical of botanical illustration. You would show specific characteristic cross sections. The idea of that, I mean, a foxglove there, which we happen to have got, is a foxglove. Yeah. But you would want to be able to differentiate that from something that is related but only differs in small details. Yeah. And of course it's using the Latin names as well, digitalis as opposed to foxglove as the main header. So that says it's obviously a very serious book. Yes. Would an artist want this book, or would it be someone who's into gardening want the book, or both, or does it appeal to both? I think you'd have to want to paint flowers, obviously, but you also want to be serious about it. Yeah. If you were really serious, then you'd go to Kew and go on one of their botanical painting courses. But not everybody does want to do that, but they are interested in painting flowers in more detail. I'm not totally convinced that you could learn to be a botanical painter from a book, but you could get perhaps as close as an amateur wants to get to it. Because every single leaf and petal has got to be the right measurement, the right colour. It's got to be absolutely spot on.
Almost photographic in a way.
But not quite photographic, because a photograph shows you one specific example, whereas that's got to capture all of the characteristics that you might find
like a generic
if you
flower.
Tripped over one in a field, yes.
Yeah. Okay. As opposed to a flower is like a tree, there's all different sizes and shaped petals and things like this, where photographs are very difficult to capture that precise sort of stereotype of that flower, I guess, you could say.
I mean, for most people, what they're really interested in flowers is colours and shapes, to put them in a painting so that it looks like a bed of flowers and not like a pot of spilt paint.
Yeah.
That is very much, again, we've got here, you go into the detail of the centre of the flower head.
Ah, right.
And that's important.
Yeah, of course it is, yeah. It shows all the little...
Whatever they are.
Whatever they are.
Well, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the whole point is, we've just captured the nature of the book in a way, because you and I really don't know what we're talking about.
We're not flower.
Because we're not flower specialists.
Yeah. So, if you're summarising this book then in a sentence, how would you do that?
If you think you want to do botanical illustration, have a go at that. If it really floats your boat, there's plenty more to do.
Okay.
But you might find that it's really hard work, and you've saved yourself a lot of money going on a course if you don't like it.
Okay.
I think we should add that there's a DVD that goes with it, which is very useful because it actually shows the techniques and the stages of going through it.
Okay.
If you did that book as a step-by-step, we would be reviewing volume 1 of 10.
Okay. Because obviously each step to this picture is just putting a brushstroke on.
It's just a tiny amount.
It can be as detailed as that, can't it? Absolutely. Well, that's a great way to finish. Thanks again for that, Henry. Definitely a great book and DVD for those serious about capturing the characteristics and structure of flowers. Well, time for a quick break now, folks, but join us in part 3 when versatile SAA acrylic artist Terry Chipp returns to complete part 2 of his stormy seascape in today's Try Your Hand At project. We'll see you after the break.